The halo effect. There's a strange thing the mind does. When it wants the world to feel simple, it sees one good trait and quietly turns it into a story. A charming voice becomes wisdom. A polished image becomes integrity. Confidence becomes truth. And before we realize it, we stop seeing the person in front of us and start seeing the story our minds created. This is the halo effect. Not magic, not intuition, just a shortcut that feels harmless until it isn't. Because the halo effect does not simply make us admire people. It makes us blind. Blind to flaws. Blind to truth. Blind to the parts of reality that don't fit the image we want to see. 1. When perception becomes fiction. The halo effect is the tendency to let one positive quality shape our entire judgment of a person. If someone is attractive, we assume they are kind. If someone sounds confident, we assume they are knowledgeable. If someone is successful, we assume they are ethical. We don't test these beliefs. We don't examine them. We just believe, because the mind is not searching for truth. It is searching for coherence. It wants people to make sense, quickly, cleanly, without effort. So it fills in the blanks, even when there are no facts to fill them with. 2. The seduction of simplicity. Human beings are overwhelmed by complexity. We meet strangers. We evaluate leaders. We judge partners. We select friends. And every one of these choices creates uncertainty. So the brain creates shortcuts, little illusions that make the world feel predictable. The halo effect is one of those illusions. It whispers, if one thing is good, the rest probably is too. It feels efficient, comfortable, safe, but psychological safety is not the same as reality. 3. Beauty as a disguise. One of the strongest triggers of the halo effect is appearance. Attractive faces are perceived as more honest, more capable, more warm, more intelligent. Not because they are, but because beauty becomes a signal the brain mistakes for character. So we trust faster, forgive quicker, question less. And once the halo forms, truth becomes harder to see, even when it stands right in front of us. 4. The confidence trap. Another driver of the halo effect is confidence. The person who speaks loudest, clearest, and with the most certainty often becomes the one people follow, even when they are wrong, even when evidence disagrees, even when doubt would be appropriate. Because confidence feels like leadership. It makes our nervous system relax, and so we confuse clarity of voice with clarity of truth. But competence is not loudness, and certainty is not honesty. Sometimes confidence is simply the absence of self-doubt, and sometimes it is performance. 5. When the halo expands into morality. The most dangerous part of the halo effect is not how it distorts competence. It is how it distorts morality. When we believe someone is good, their mistakes become just a misunderstanding. Out of character, a one-time error. We protect the image instead of confronting the reality. And when powerful people wear halos, accountability disappears. Not because no one sees the problem, but because the problem is reframed. The halo becomes a shield. 6. The cost of false light. The halo effect creates an uneven world. Some people must prove their worth endlessly. Others are trusted immediately. Some are defined by a single mistake. Others are forgiven on repeat. This isn't fairness. It isn't truth. It is bias. A bias that makes us loyal, not to people, but to illusions. And illusions always ask for payment. In unfairness, in disappointment, in misplaced trust. 7. The halo in daily life. The halo effect doesn't only exist in politics or leadership. It lives in workplaces, classrooms, friendships, relationships, social media. We follow the voice that sounds right. We like the face that feels kind. We trust the brand that looks polished. And we rarely question, am I responding to who they are or to how they appear? 8. Why the brain resists seeing clearly. Seeing clearly requires effort. It means holding two truths at once. Someone can be kind and still be wrong. Someone can be smart and still be unethical. Someone can be charming and still cause harm, but the brain resists this nuance. It prefers good or bad, black or white, halo or shadow. It is easier to love the idea of someone than to meet them honestly. 9. How to break the spell. The goal is not to eliminate the halo effect. That is impossible. The goal is to interrupt it, to pause when admiration turns into assumption, to ask questions before trust becomes reflex, to separate liking from believing. 3 questions weaken the halo. What evidence supports my belief? What evidence contradicts it? Would I judge someone else the same way? Awareness does not make us cynical. It makes us fair. 10. The moral responsibility of seeing clearly. We like to think ethics live in dramatic choices, but often ethics begin in small acts of awareness, in pausing before we glorify, in questioning credibility, in judging actions, not images, because real integrity does not need a halo, and real wisdom does not demand worship. It simply asks to be seen as it is, flawed, human, real. Closing reflection. The halo effect reveals something simple but unsettling. We don't see people as they are. We see them as our minds prefer them to be. And the more beautiful the illusion, the harder it becomes to walk away from it. But truth lives beyond the glow, beyond admiration, beyond story, beyond projection. And choosing truth, quietly, calmly, courageously, is the first step from perception into responsibility. This is Ethiax, where psychology meets responsibility, and responsibility begins when admiration no longer replaces judgment. If this episode resonated with you, you may also want to explore the horn effect, when one negative trait defines everything, because halos and shadows are reflections of the same bias, just facing opposite directions. Stay reflective, stay aware,